Hello everybody, my name is Starrapter and welcome to another episode of This Week in Star Wars Canon. If you're not familiar with this show, every week I go over everything new in the Star Wars continuity that connects back into the film. So we have anything such as the TV series, the comics, the novels, and to the video games. And this week I want to start off by talking about a new episode of Star Wars Rebels, the episode titled Secret Cargo, Season 3, Episode 17. And right off the bat, this is one of the most important stories ever told in the Star Wars timeline, guys. This was a phenomenal episode about the formation of the Rebel Alliance, going from all the cells of the Rebels that we've seen in the last 3 seasons, and they're finally coming together as one with the help of Mon Mothma. So I'm going to just do a quick plot summary of what happened. Well, basically, we have, the Phoenix Squadron out there. They get a call from somebody that says they need help. They go and they rescue this person from the Imperials and find out it's none other than Mon Mothma. But they are closely being trailed by Thrawn's forces. So it's basically they have a Y-Wing escort who happens to be led by Gold Leader himself, Vander, whatever his name is. So that was really cool. So they end up going and trying to flee from these Imperial forces which are coming down on them because they need to get to a rendezvous point. Mon Mothma is the VIP. She needs to get to actually Dantooine to send out the call, but they're being ambushed, so they have to go basically navigate through this nebula kind of system, and it's this really cool visual, and they basically escape by going through the nebula, and then when they get out on the other side, the Mon Mothma basically transmits this message to all the different cells. We got the people on Lothal, we got the actual Phoenix squad with Sato and Rex, and you see Bail Organa and John Dodonna. It's like it was one of those miraculous moments where I'm just sitting there like they just did that, didn't they? I was just flipping out because I never would have thought that when this series started that the Rebels, the Ghost Crew themselves, would have had such a pivotal role in actually creating the Rebel Alliance. I thought they would just be on their little own selves, but no, they actually were the ones that rescued Mon Mothma. So I'm going to get into some very specific nitty-gritty details of what I really liked about this episode. So as I just said, Gold Leader, so that's awesome continuity. I mean, I flipped out when I seen him in Rogue One with that footage that they got from A New Hope. That's so cool. But yeah, and Mon Mothma as well. She is voiced by Genevieve O'Reilly. So they got the actress from Rogue One, just like they did with Saw Gerrera with Forrest Whitaker. So I love how Rebels is really bringing in these Rogue One characters, because guys, we are about 2 years from the events of Rogue One. So that's how you do it right there. You bring everything in together. And I like that they actually went over the backstory, because I have the ultimate visual guide of Rogue One. They have a nice 2-page spread on Mon Mothma, and they have her timeline, and it does say that she speaks out against the Empire, and we actually get to hear that speech, and it's all connected. Another thing I really enjoyed was seeing the Y-Wings. Now, I'm pretty sure these are the same Y-Wings that we've seen in the very first episode from Steps into Shadow, and just the great use of the Y-Wings. First off, Ezra is in one of those Y-Wings, so that's kind of cool, and we see how they are using the proton bombs and the ion cannons. That was some really cool stuff. Another vessel I really like, because this is a vessel-heavy episode. It's all in space. We got the TIE Defender, guys. Now, it was alluded to before the break of, halfway through the season or whatever, that we were going to get the TIE Defender. So this is the prototype. There was only one of these things, but holy crap, can this thing pack a punch. I mean, it's got shields, it's got a hyperdrive. It's just awesome. And I want to go into that Solar Storm nebula kind of thing. They gave it a name. I'm just not remembering it right now. That was some of the coolest visuals I've seen in Star Wars. So they were basically risking the ghost by going in there, but the TIE fighters didn't have the shielding to really protect against the the violet rays. So they were basically like the sheets of metal were peeling off, and they were taking out the TIE fighters. And then when they get out the other side, you have the 2 Star Destroyers there, and they basically fire the proton bombs into that nebula, and it causes this solar flare onto the Star Destroyers to help them break the tractor beam to get out of there. That was some of the coolest things I've seen in Star Wars in a long time, to be honest with you. One of the coolest things in Rebels, I mean. And when they get out of there, Mon Mothma's speech, and I like the way that they actually did this editing-wise. They had this nice monologue of her talking, and it's like it's a montage of all the different Rebel cells, and at the end there, you get the Rebel fleet. You got, you know, the Hammerhead cruisers that we've seen last season. You got the Mon Calamaris. I think that's home one, guys. So, yeah, if you couldn't tell, I like this episode a hell of a lot. Rebels has been on a freaking roll, guys. I mean, we came back with that Mandalore episode. Then last week we had the Imperial-centric episode. This week we have the Rebel-centric episode. So they are on an absolute roll. The only thing I didn't really like, and this is really just something that just doesn't even matter, guys, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I was like, oh, we're going to finally get to the surface of Dantooine. We're going to see what was on the Knights of the Republic game. And then I'm like, oh, they're just going to float above in the atmosphere like they did for a couple of the other episodes back last season with, like, Geonosis. So I'm sure we're going to maybe see it next season, because honestly I think they're going to lose their current chopper base and they're going to probably have to migrate over to Dantooine. Next season, I'm pretty sure we'll see it. As for the next episode, I'm not really looking forward to it too much. I'm going to kind of hold my thoughts right now. But from the two previews I've seen, you know, the double agent droid, why do we always have to have these droid episodes right before a huge episode like the Obi-Wan and Maul face-off? I don't really know. Again, I haven't watched the episode, so I can't judge it yet. But regardless, I am looking forward to where Rebels goes from here, because this was one of the best episodes of the series for sure, because it just not only moved the series itself, but moved the Star Wars lore. This is something that, you know, we never knew we would get, is the actual formation of the Rebel Alliance. But I want to know what you guys thought, so please feel free to leave a comment in that comment section below. But of course, that wasn't all we had this week. We also had a new issue of Doctor Aphra. This is issue number 5. So this is part 5 of the first arc of Doctor Aphra. So just picking up where we left off, we finally get to that destination that her father, Doctor Aphra's father, was looking for the Ordu Aspectu, these ancient force wielders that we find out in this issue they were actually Jedi. So they go down to this planet and are trying to discover what her father was trying to find the whole time. So they get down there, and of course they were closely followed from Yavin by Captain Tolvin, who is that kind of cybernetic-esque officer, and she's brought some of her Imperial lackeys with her, and, you know, a firefight ensues, of course, with Black Kirstenton, and then Black Kirstenton and the droids say, screw you guys, we're going off on our own, and they basically take the ship with them, abandoning Aphra and her father. Aphra and her father end up fleeing from the Imperials, and they get to the command console, and it basically have this very nice conversation between, you know, father and daughter. They activate it, and something comes alive, and that kind of is where the issue leaves off. So I'm going to just talk about some positives I had of this issue. First off, we've seen snowtroopers. I think this is the first time we're seeing snowtroopers in the canon comics. I'm so damn kind of tired of stormtroopers, or traditional stormtroopers. So anytime we get the variation of a stormtrooper, namely the snowtroopers, I'm super happy about that. I just love the whole aesthetic of them. Also, Ancient Jedi. I don't think they were ever confirmed before this issue that this, you know, order of people were Jedi. They could have been any kind of Force wielders, but these were the Jedi. So, and they were talking about how they weren't cremated, which is usually what happens with the Jedi. These were just kind of left there to freeze, because it's a very frigid planet, and you could see that in the artwork, which I really, really liked. They had every character basically that was organic, had the, you know, the cold misty breath coming out of them when they spoke. So very, very cool. Like, you know, see them kind of just like huddled up with the heavy clothing. So visuals by Kev Walker. This guy is really hitting out of the park. I've really, really grown to love these visuals. When I first read issue number 1, I was like, I don't know, but now I'm totally on board for his visuals. And basically the best thing about this issue was towards the end there. We get that conversation between Aphra and her father. Now, we find out the motivations behind her father. Now, we see a whole different side of the character. We thought he was just an obsessed, crazy science guy that didn't care about anything. It turns out he was looking for the Ordu Aspectu after the Jedi were wiped out during Order 66 and it plummeted into, you know, this tyranny. He thought that the Ordu Aspectu, who he's always studied, would be the key to maybe bringing peace back to the galaxy. So he wanted to have that nice, stable galaxy for his daughter to grow up in. So that's why he was going so fanatical about finding these things, because he thought if he found where they were from, he'd be able to re-energize them, bring them back into the galaxy, and, you know, give her family a peaceful atmosphere. So that was really cool, because then he's talking to his daughter, and basically get to the point where they need a crystal, and she basically he basically says, we don't have the crystal, I've basically come all this way, and you know, I'm not going to be able to actually activate this thing after all this work, all these years. Turns out that she had the crystal. She took off one of the bodies of these people, and she was just kind of holding on it because she wanted to have that conversation with her father. So basically she withheld the crystal just so she could talk for a few minutes with her father. But I thought that was great, because that really hit me in the feels, because then at the end she says, okay, you know, here's the crystal. And he actually mentioned to her that he could have cleared her ban against the archaeological society or whatever, but she determined to help her father. So that was really, really nice, and I think that's something that going forward is going to be a big impact. Now I really feel a lot deeper connection between Dr. Aphra and her father, but I'm looking forward to issue number 6, especially that cover with whatever that mechanical being looks like. They have some sort of ancient lightsaber, so we can look forward to a very, very action-heavy conclusion to this arc, this very first arc of Doctor Aphra. But I want to know what you guys thought of Doctor Aphra. Are you reading this? Is this one of your favorite comics from Star Wars? It's definitely mine. Let me know in that comment section below. That is going to do it for me, Starrapter, this week. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. I have lots of other Star Wars content on this channel, including I just uploaded my album review of Galactic Empire. They are a Star Wars, they are a metal band that like basically does metal takes on the Star Wars classic soundtracks from prequel trilogy and original trilogies. So I uploaded my review for their, you know, their first album. So definitely check that out. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching, and may the Force be with you always. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you rate it a thumbs up, and if you did that, go over there, hit that Starrapter head to subscribe to my channel. Doing so will keep you up to speed on all of my latest content. Speaking of which, you can see a couple of my recent uploads down below. I'm also on social media, so what are you waiting for? Let's start nerding out.